On our wedding anniversary, his first love divorced, and my husband immediately rushed to be with her. After 4 years of emotional neglect towards me, he made a profound declaration of love to her. Everything I have, it's all for her. In that moment, I swore they would pay the price. Today marked my and Julian's 4th wedding anniversary, and I had prepared a table full of his favorite dishes. Julian sat opposite me, beginning to eat with no expression. He wasn't curious about what day it was. At the dinner table, he received a phone call. What? Don't cry. I'll be right there. Scarlett, don't be afraid. I'll give you a new future. His usually expressionless face was suddenly clouded with anxiety and worry. A muffled female voice came from the other end of the phone, but I knew instantly it was Scarlett, even over the phone. Even after so many years, she only spoke a single sentence, yet it pulled me back to high school, triggering a traumatic reaction. I was once again Grace, curled in the corner, being kicked and beaten by Scarlett. Her loud laughter pierced my eardrums, and her long-nailed hands slapped my face hard, while glowing cigarette butts were casually pressed against my inner thigh. I cried. I groaned, begging them to let me go, but all I got in return was increasingly malicious bullying. Julian has an emotional detachment disorder. We've known each other for 10 years, married for 4, and I had never seen him so outwardly emotional. When I was hospitalized after a car accident, Julian's only response on the phone was a bland, "Got it, now." Scarlett's single phone call shattered all my unrequited affection. He rushed out of the house, comforting a sobbing Scarlett on the phone as he went, from beginning to end. He didn't spare me a single glance. Julian's first love, Scarlett, was divorced, with just one call. Julian, who was always cold, indifferent, and wore a deathly expression, immediately rushed to her side. They had been in love in high school, but Scarlett left without a word and went abroad. It wasn't until he turned and left without hesitation in that moment that I realized he had never let go of Scarlett all these years. I indifferently picked at my food for a few bites. After all, I had spent the entire afternoon preparing it, so I couldn't let it go to waste. In the middle of the night, I tossed and turned. I skillfully opened Scarlett's social media post on my phone, as expected. She had posted an update. The first picture was of her son, with a man's hand stroking the child's head. That hand wore a designer watch, the birthday gift I had picked out for Julian. There was also a bouquet of elegantly colored flowers. Scarlett had uploaded a live photo, and I could hear their conversation. "Julian, are you going back tonight?" The moment I heard Scarlett's clear voice, my hand went limp, and my phone dropped to the floor. When I came to my senses, I realized I was drenched in a cold sweat. I drank several cups of hot water before I managed to calm down and stop shaking. I took a few deep breaths and reopened the photo. I heard my husband gently comforting Scarlett. "I'm staying here with you." This was a tenderness I had never experienced. What I had always known was only the perpetually cold Julian. The remaining pictures were Scarlett's selfies. The caption for the post read, "Love never comes late." I felt my temples and eyes throb with each breath. I took a few more deep breaths. I let the bitterness spread through me, chewing on this sorrow through the restless night. I locked myself in my art studio. After repeatedly reliving Julian's coldness over the years, I finally decided to let him go. I sent a text message to my lawyer, asking him to draft a divorce agreement. I booked a flight to the scheduled to depart a month later. Last night, Julian didn't come home. When he returned in the morning and walked past me, I smelled his perfume. Scarlett had loved that perfume in high school, and she was still using it now, whenever grabbed my hair and questioned me. Her perfume engulfed me like a swamp. At this moment, I couldn't distinguish between physical pain and heartache. He had returned to pick up a document. After finding the file, he left swiftly and decisively. I watched his back, my voice trembling as I asked him, "Julian, do you know Scarlett used to bully me?" Julian turned his head. His profile was as icy as ever, devoid of emotion. "I know. So what?" His words, like a tsunami, swallowed me whole, leaving me even more precarious. So, my husband had known all along what kind of person the one who got away was. He also knew what painful past his wife had endured. But he didn't care. I struggled to suppress my breathing, but his words were like knives, mercilessly cutting my heart into pieces. I couldn't stop myself from crying, hearing my sobs. He finally didn't leave directly but leaned against the entryway, as if waiting to see what else I would perform. I cried out in despair. Scarlett cornered me, tore my clothes, hit me with school supplies, used cigarette butts, Grace. That's all in the past. Julian seemed no longer interested in hearing this farce and calmly cut me off. Do you have anything else to say? His lips pressed into a flat line. A sign of his impatience, Julian remained calm, his eyes full of icy coldness. This was the most prominent symptom of his emotional detachment disorder. He struggled to understand others' emotions and couldn't generate his own. So he was always like a detached third party, calmly observing my pain. He could even offer objective evaluations, seeing that I said nothing. He simply left, leaving me exhausted, unable to even speak. From that moment, I knew there was no turning back for Julian and me. I decided to go to Apex to handle things before I left. In the taxi, the driver had the news playing as he drove. The morning news was a special report on Apex. When asked about the origin of the company's name, Julian's usually cold and distant eyes showed a ripple of emotion. The name Apex comes from someone very important to me. She is also the motivation for my endeavors. Apex, meaning Scarlett, who was far away. The driver chuckled. Tsk. This Mr. Julian is quite devoted. I gave a bitter smile. Yes, but his devotion wasn't directed at his wife. When the company was first founded, I had asked him the same question. Julian had casually replied, nothing. Just picked it randomly. Now I finally knew the answer to that riddle. He wasn't wearing our wedding ring. He had never liked wearing it, so much so that after 4 years, there was still no mark of a ring on his finger. I self-destructively watched the entire interview. I listened as Julian thanked his first love, the one who got away, and all the employees. He didn't mention me once during the whole interview. That was my husband's attitude towards me all along. Downstairs, the receptionist stopped me. Do you have an appointment, please? Julian had always disliked me disturbing him at the company, so I rarely came. He also preferred that I not reveal our relationship publicly, so I decided to call him. The phone didn't connect for a long time. Someone called out to me. When I turned, it was Scarlett. She smiled as sweetly and gently as ever. Grace, long time no see. The moment I heard her voice, my hand, which had been hanging loosely at my side, clenched instantly, and my ears began to ring sharply. I dug my nails deeply into my palm. Only physical pain could keep me calm. The child Scarlett was holding curiously asked, Mommy, who is she? Scarlett's eyes scanned me from head to toe. Oh, she's Mommy's good friend from high school. Leo kept Julian busy for a long time. Julian was too tired last night, so he didn't go back. Don't worry, she then added. It's all my fault. I should have made him call you. In just a few short sentences, Scarlett asserted her claim, isolating me from their picture-perfect family of 3, who would have thought I was Julian's wife. She leaned in, as if we were very close, and took my hand, whispering in my ear, Grace, Julian gave me your contact information. There are so many things I want to show you. I couldn't help but shake her hand off. The receptionist eagerly approached Scarlett and said, Mr. Julian already briefed us yesterday. Please come with me. Grace, didn't you discuss this with Julian? Shall I take you up? I said coldly no. Thank you. When I was in high school, what I feared most was Scarlett's smile. Now, when I saw her smile, it felt like a hand was churning in my stomach, making me want to vomit. Scarlett's son suddenly jumped up in surprise, greeting the elevator entrance. Julian. Julian appeared behind me. So the reason I couldn't reach him was because he was in the elevator on his way to pick up Scarlett. Julian was worried Scarlett might feel uneasy in an unfamiliar environment, so he specifically came down to meet her. Yet, after all this time we had been together, Julian rarely mentioned me to others and never introduced me to his company employees. Julian caught Leo, who had rushed towards him, and naturally stood beside Scarlett. They looked exactly like a family of 3. I was the outsider. Julian frowned, asking me with a hint of impatience, Why are you here today? I forced a smile. I have something to do in the design department. He nodded at my words, brushing past me. Scarlett tugged on Julian's sleeve, softly asking him, Julian, why don't we go up with Grace? Maybe has something urgent at the company? Julian put his hand on Scarlett's shoulder and answered coldly, What could she possibly have to do? She just does housework at home every day. Don't say that. Grace must have it hard too. Julian's tone was dismissive. Don't come here again. Don't disturb my work. He then gently asked, Scarlett, were you nervous just now? Julian suffers from emotional detachment disorder, unable to feel others' emotions and struggling to generate his own. Because of this disorder, he repeatedly checked with Scarlett. not wanting to miss any of her feelings. When wanted to come, he rushed downstairs to greet her. He even briefed his employees, afraid Scarlett might feel wronged. I had long grown used to all this, but seeing Julian's concern and care for Scarlett, I still felt a pang of bitterness. Rather than saying he had emotional detachment disorder, it was more accurate to say he simply didn't love me, Scarlett softly cooed to Julian. Julian naturally leaned closer to Scarlett, listening intently to her rambling. Leo bounced around beside them, in perfect harmony. I was left behind, the most superfluous person, even though it was summer. A chill ran through me, making me want to curl up. Julian, why did your emotional detachment disorder automatically heal itself in front of Scarlett? I went to the design department and found the manager, stating my purpose. I am Grace, the illustrator, and I am terminating my cooperation with Apex. No works illustrated by me will appear on any Apex products anymore. I had poured all my energy into loving Julian. I needed to break away completely and cleanly. Thompson, who was one of the veterans who had built the company with us, looked surprised. Is this Mr. Julian's arrangement? No, it's my decision. Julian and I are getting divorced soon. I don't have shares in the company, so this marital change won't affect the company's development. I just want to take back my illustrations. Apex had started as a software company. I am an illustrator. The company's logo, mascot design, and app usage guides, which are still in use today, were all my works. But's casual remark, what could she possibly have to do, erased all my contributions. I knew his eyes had always been blind to me. So he didn't care about my safety, my happiness, or acknowledge my achievements. Let it be then. I would no longer beg for Julian's love. Going downstairs, I found it was pouring rain outside. My phone rang with a special notification tone. It was a text from Julian. Grace, it's raining outside. I've asked Mike, the driver, to take you home. I pretended not to see it, opened my umbrella, and walked into the rain. I wandered aimlessly outside, returning home close to 10 at night. As soon as I opened the door, I saw Julian. He stared intently at me. The moment he saw me, he rushed forward, wrapping me tightly in his arms. Grace, where did you go? Though it was summer, he was colder than I was, even after coming in from outside. I opened my phone and found over 40 missed calls, all from Julian. Where did you run off to? He asked, almost grinding his teeth. Instead of answering, I countered, why are you home so early today? I had thought he would be with Scarlett these past few days. He had calmed down now. He released me and settled back onto the sofa with a composed air. As if his earlier distress had been my imagination, he answered faintly, aren't you afraid of thunder? I fired the receptionist. I sneered, Mr. Julian, don't make things hard for working people. Julian looked at me, resisting communication, then suddenly grabbed my hand, pulled me onto his lap, and forcefully kissed my lips. His burning kisses trailed down my neck. What happened next was inevitable. He fell into a deep sleep beside me. But I couldn't sleep. I had 28 days left before I left this place. As I was working in my art studio, I suddenly heard the front door downstairs. I saw Scarlett and Leo at the entryway. Julian had directly given Scarlett our home security code. Leo, only 5 years old, still had a hint of cuteness about him. Auntie, I want to look around before the owner, could say anything. Leo darted into my house. Scarlett sat on the sofa like a winner, assured of victory, occasionally admiring her manicure. She spoke nonchalantly. Grace, there's something I want to tell you. Do you know why Julian doesn't want to have children with you? I put my cup down with a thud, my nails digging deep into my palms. She let out a small fit of laughter. You don't think it's because he doesn't like children, do you? It's because he thinks if you get pregnant, he won't be able to divorce you. He'd be completely tied to you all these years. He's only cared about me. Scarlett, feigning pity for me, delivered the cruel truth. The moment I heard this, a burning pain surged through my body, and my throat felt acidic. Both and I came from unhappy families. If I had a child, I would do my best to be a good mother. I had always thought Julian simply wasn't ready all these years. It turned out he had left himself an escape route from the very beginning. Julian, what feelings did you harbor, keeping me in the dark all this time? I couldn't find the answer to that question. Just then, I heard crashing sounds from upstairs. My art studio was a mess. All the neatly arranged paints were open, spilling everywhere. My well-kept paintbrushes were all cut up by Leo with scissors. All my carefully stored sketches were torn to shreds, drenched in paint. making them illegible. All I felt was fury rushing to my brain, making me want to tear everything apart. Leo stood to the side, squirming. "Auntie, I'm sorry. I was just trying to put them away for you, but I accidentally knocked them all over." Though the child apologized with his mouth, his eyes stared straight at me. He was observing me. He was exactly like his mother. In high school, whenever Scarlett bullied me, she would stare at me just like that. Leo, like his mother Scarlett, was a born bad seed. I lunged forward 2 steps and grabbed the evil child's shoulder. Someone pulled my hand away. I turned and saw Julian. He was like a still lake. Mirroring my fury and breakdown, my husband, in a protective stance, shielded the mother and son behind him. He squeezed my fingers with such force that they swelled with pain. His expression was stern, his voice tinged with a faint anger. "Don't quarrel with a child. Leo was just clumsy." I laughed, a bitter, angry laugh, wanting to throw everything in Scarlett and her son's faces. I wrestled my hand free from his grip, unable to stop myself from raising my voice and questioning Julian. "He ruined my artwork. As my husband, how can you side with an outsider like this? What you drew, it's meaningless anyway, isn't it?" Julian's brows furrowed with a hint of anger. Unlike his usual aloofness, his words felt like they stripped me bare. A sharp pain erupted in my chest. His few words were like a dagger, churning in my heart, through him. I saw the smiles on the faces of the mother and son hiding behind him. I had originally started creating art for Julian, but when I eagerly showed Julian my illustrations, I only received his disdain and coldness. "With all due respect, I don't see any value in this at all. I can't understand their meaning, so can you please stop wasting my time?" He was always a silent mountain to me, but for Scarlett he erupted. The silence between us seemed to suck all the air out of the room, suffocating me. The silence was broken by my pet Peanut's pained whines and vomiting. In an instant, I knew Leo must have been up to something again. I demanded, "What did you feed my dog?" Leo stubbornly refused to say anything and began to wail, making my temples throb. Panic surged through my heart, making me anxiously scoop up Peanut and rush out. Julian tried to stop me, but I was completely enraged and yelled, "Get out of my way." Leo opportunely started crying loudly, trying to make Julian stay, but didn't humor them. He took Peanut from my arms and quickly rushed to the garage. "You're not thinking straight. Driving like this could cause an accident. I'm coming with you." Julian ran several red lights on the way, finally getting Peanut into the emergency clinic. After seeing Peanut being wheeled in, I suddenly went limp, as if all my strength had been drained. "Grace, calm down, follow my rhythm, breathe, breathe." Julian hugged me tightly, pressing me against his chest, using his body to provide warmth to my cold self. The vet pumped Peanut's stomach and found chocolate in his system. Chocolate can be fatal if dogs eat it. After all these years, Scarlett was still as malicious as ever, and her son was no good either. I demanded of Julian, "What do you have to say for yourself now?" "Grace, I promise I won't let anyone else into our house again." His voice held an apology, but these feelings, like thin ice under a scorching sun, quickly vanished. I scoffed, for I was the anyone else. I hated his composure around me. I had seen through that long ago. Scarlett just called. It's pouring rain outside, and she's a bit scared alone at this moment. Julian's eyes were filled with urgency. Perhaps there was a hint of guilt towards me, but I didn't want to distinguish it. I cut him off directly. "Go be with her, and tell Scarlett that what her son did today won't be forgotten. Tell her to prepare for court." I sneered, throwing the lab report at Julian, and turned to take care of my little dog. Outside, the rain poured relentlessly. I had 23 days left before my departure. While browsing at a jewelry counter at the mall, I spotted a necklace. After I swiped my card, the sales associate carefully took it out from the display case and wrapped it. Suddenly, I heard Scarlett's voice. "Julian, I want this." I didn't want to get tangled up with them any further. I picked up my purchase and prepared to leave. It was Julian's familiar, cold voice. "Give it to Scarlett." It was a condescending command. I ignored it, but Julian continued to provoke me with words. "Everything I've achieved today, it's all for Scarlett. I swore I'd give her a good life. Everything I've given you originally belonged to Scarlett. What right do you have to fight her for it?" Cold words poured out of Julian's mouth. I held my head high and spoke each word clearly. "I didn't use your money. I've always been an illustrator. The money I spent was earned by myself. I hadn't spent a single penny of the money Julian had transferred to my card all these years. I bit my lip, struggling to control my emotions. I asked him this question one last time. Julian, can you understand my sadness? His reply was cold and hard, his gaze like a sharp blade, showing no mercy whatsoever. Why should I understand? His face was full of confusion and impatience. In that moment, he was the Julian of the past few years, superimposed. Why have a wedding? I just find it too much trouble. Because couldn't understand the significance of ceremonies and found weddings too troublesome. We didn't have one. Aren't those your family? Why do I have to go back with you? He disliked interacting with my family, so he rarely went back to my mom's house with me. Why do you bother doing all this? Making the house smell, and I don't even like pears. Julian always seemed to get a cough during seasonal changes, so I would boil pear syrup for him every year. Until I caught him pouring the pear syrup and sweet dessert I had painstakingly made for him down the drain. He had too many confusions about emotions, and he never wanted to understand my tears or my feelings. Scarlett winked, and Leo, full of mischief, popped out. His voice was adorable, but his words were deliberately malicious. Auntie, can you please stop bothering my daddy? Daddy? I burst out laughing. Is he your daddy? You call him so happily? Manners? I pointed at Scarlett, my chin raised in sarcasm. Scarlett, is this how you teach your son? You're a mistress yourself, and you teach your son to eagerly call people daddy randomly? I threw the necklace directly at Julian. Give it to your precious Scarlett. I'm not willing to fight with a mistress. The onlookers recognize them. Isn't that the boss of Apex? Why is he so unclear with that influencer? This mistress is too arrogant, daring to directly provoke the original wife. This clearly looks like the mistress brought her whole family to force their hand. I didn't want to look at Julian, who was anxiously comforting Scarlett. Nor did I want to listen to the idle gossip. I grabbed my bag and turned to leave. I had 20 days left before I left. During this time, I stopped answering Julian's calls and stopped caring about him. Even living under the same roof, I often ignored him soon. All Apex products changed their mascot and logo. That day, Julian, uncharacteristically, didn't go to the office but waited for me downstairs in the living room. His hands were clasped, his eyes filled with scrutiny, adopting a negotiating posture, colder than ever before. Grace, why did you suddenly withdraw your designs? Without waiting for my answer, he self-righteously gave me his own. Did a competitor pay you? I'll double it. Now, sign a new contract with Apex. I was utterly incredulous. This man before me, whom I had known for 10 years, was maliciously speculating about me. Looking at the person I had loved for so many years, all I felt was coldness and disgust. I couldn't help but recall Julian from back then. After transferred schools, her hangers-on still persistently harassed me. Everyone avoided me, except Julian. Back then, Julian was also someone everyone at school avoided. He was smart, top of his class, but taciturn and friendless. He appeared by my side, picking me up from school every day, always showing up just as I was about to be bullied, and soon those bad kids stopped bothering me. I asked him why he wanted to be friends with me. He stood at my doorstep, answering meticulously, "Grace, you're very smart. You shouldn't be held back by these people." He took my backpack and then smiled very, very faintly. "I'll follow you. We'll be friends, two freaks." He stood at the bottom of the slope leading to my house, watching me climb up, the pomegranate flower wall behind him blooming like fire. Julian's voice had no discernible fluctuation, yet I found comfort and warmth in it. Julian back then was like a moonbeam, gently illuminating me then. Julian and I naturally became a couple. When proposed to me, he held me and earnestly said, "Grace, I'm very slow when it comes to emotions. As long as you keep teaching me, I'll understand you someday." But he no longer wanted to understand me, and I no longer wanted to water him with my love. The teenage Julian was silent but always cared for me. I loved that version of him, not this cruel and indifferent monster. I said goodbye to the boy in my heart. I took a breath and finally said what I wanted to say. "Julian, let's get a divorce." Julian paused, seemingly disbelieving. His eyelashes lowered, his Adam's apple bobbed twice, before he slowly spoke. "Grace, I don't want to." My resolve was unwavering, and I had nothing more to say to him. Julian was always oblivious to my emotions. At first, I would explain things to him, but now I had nothing left to say. After a long silence, Julian finally realized I wasn't just talking. He forcefully grabbed my wrist and said, word by word, "Grace, I won't sign, even if you insist. I won't. If we can't get a mutual consent divorce, we'll have to go to court, and our relationship will last at least 3 more years. In these 3 years, I'll fix everything. I impatiently cut him off, from beginning to end. You were the problem. Julian didn't get angry. Instead, he continued, following my words, I'll fix myself too. Don't leave me. I'll fix myself. It was then that I noticed something was wrong with Julian. I looked up and saw he was in a trance. His handsome face was pale, covered in cold sweat. His eyes bloodshot. He kept mumbling, don't divorce, don't divorce. Julian finally understood that the reason he was always calm, self-possessed, and aloof was because he had never lost anything truly important. He wanted to stop me. Embracing my waist from behind, holding me captive in his arms, his hot breath on my neck, I remained somewhat calm, pouring out everything I wanted to say. You emotionally neglected me for 4 whole years. I told myself it was okay. You just couldn't understand emotions. You were just sick. You did not love me. You did not cherish me. After came back, I realized your emotional detachment disorder was only for me. You saved all your care, gentleness, and love for her. I'm human too. I'm not some emotionless machine. I get disappointed. I get sad. But you never saw any of it. Julian's gelled hair had fallen out of place, making him look more disheveled than ever. He held me tightly, as if holding a precious treasure he could never let go of. His voice was mixed with a few sobs. I can't understand your emotions, so teach me. I can't lose you. I've taught you countless times, and you never learned, but you can understand Scarlett's emotions. I took a few deep breaths and left Julian with one last sentence, perhaps is the one truly suited for you, last night. I ignored Julian's frantic behavior and went to bed early in the guest room. This morning, I opened the art studio door and found Julian, who never entered my studio, sitting inside. He was meticulously restoring my artwork, piece by piece. Grace, I'm sorry. I didn't know these paintings were so important to you. I consulted a professor, and he taught me how to restore manuscripts. When looked at the paintings, his eyes were filled with guilt and tenderness. Julian was an undeniable genius. Anything he put his mind to, he could learn quickly. He had perfectly restored these paintings. My feelings for him, once unrequited, were now met with disdain, just like these paintings. Even if these paintings were once priceless to me, I didn't want to look at them now. Whatever, at this point, none of this matters. I threw the paintings he had meticulously cleaned and ray-glued into the air. Torn paintings always have cracks. In the air, they became fragments once more. They fluttered down between us. Julian stared at these fragments, at a loss, not knowing where to begin picking them up. Grace, you can't leave, I beg you. Don't go, my people are all outside the door. You can't leave. He knelt on the floor, his eyes red as he looked up at me. Gone was his usual calm and aloof demeanor. My flight was still 16 days away. I had never let go of my hatred for Scarlett. Even after all this time, I still kept the evidence from back then. I imported the videos I had recorded back then onto my computer. One by one, in the video, Scarlett gripped my hair, leaning close to my ear. Aren't you proud of how pretty you are? Why aren't you acting slutty anymore? She continuously questioned me while inflicting violence upon me. Behind sweet voice was my sobbing. Grace, don't watch anymore. Julian leaned behind me, his body taut to the extreme, covering my eyes with his hands. I felt his tears stream down my back. Even though it was I who was suffering back then, he was too pained to watch it any longer. I mocked Julian. Are you going to protect her again? He shook his head, his jawline tightly clenched, his eyes filled with a hint of panic. No, Grace. I'm just worried it will make you sad to remember those things. I don't want you to be sad anymore. I shrugged, saying indifferently, whatever. I pulled down my pants and took a photo of the scars Scarlett had left on my inner thigh, as evidence. Julian's reaction was even more intense. His eyes were bloodshot, staring fixedly at the scars on my body. I slapped away his hand, which had reached out to comfort me. But you didn't care about me, did you? We've been married for so many years, we've done it so many times, yet you never once asked me. These accusations rendered Julian speechless, unable to offer any other explanation. Ignoring him, I posted all the evidence online, detailing my past experiences. Just as I had said before, my revenge always hit its mark. The online rumors had already tarnished Scarlett's reputation. And the evidence I provided solidified her guilt. After watching the videos, netizens began to boycott Scarlett, like mother, like son. Her son followed suit. Leo was also exposed for bullying other students at school soon after. Scarlett was sued for intentional injury and sentenced to 4 years in prison. They finally got what they deserved. Julian didn't help Scarlett clear her name. In fact, he took the lead in organizing the evidence. Julian placed the reports of Scarlett's conviction in front of me, cautiously asking, "Grace, are you a little happier now?" I glanced at him disdainfully, my words laced with scorn and indifference. "Are you trying to take credit with me? Do you think this will tie me down?" Huh? My question stung him, and his lips trembled for a long time. He couldn't utter a single word yet. I smiled with a sense of satisfaction. "Julian, malicious speculation, blunt harshness, these were never your exclusive rights." For a while, Julian seemed obsessed, not allowing anyone into our home. Even company matters were handled online as much as possible. He did all the housework himself. I ate and drank as I pleased, ignoring him, taking all of it for granted. Today, for the first time, I initiated a conversation with him. "I want some tiramisu." Julian looked up at me, his eyes shining with hope. He immediately got up, fumbling for his wallet. Then he cautiously confirmed with me, "You won't leave, will you?" I heard my own calm voice reply, "No, I won't." Julian rushed out the door, his frantic figure overlapping with his hurried departure to find Scarlett on our anniversary night. Didn't know I was deceiving him. I didn't know, nor did I want to dwell on it. Recently, Julian seemed to be planning a wedding, but I turned a blind eye to all of it. Because that meticulously planned wedding of his would never take place, I only took my dog, Peanut. I left the keys on the signed divorce papers and closed the front door without a trace of nostalgia. I boarded the plane smoothly and left that place. I left that sliver of moonlight from back then to my past self. Now, it was time for me to chase a new sun. On the plane, I unexpectedly ran into Ethan, an old neighbor. He had once pursued me. But I was so focused on Julian that I never responded to him. He looked a little nervous. "Grace, are you traveling to the?" I smiled and replied, "No, I'm planning to settle there for a while and start a new life." His eyes lit up when he heard my answer, and he began enthusiastically telling me about houses. Ethan was even more attentive than before. Using the excuse of helping me get familiar with the two draw closer to me, he bought the small house next to mine, becoming my neighbor again. Ethan even befriended my dog, Peanut, who now went to play with him next door every day. One day, returning from the design firm, I felt a stranger following me. Just as I was about to call for help, a pair of strong arms wrapped tightly around me. It was Ethan. "Grace, don't be scared, I'm right here with you." In that moment, I heard my heartbeat again. Since coming to the every day has been fulfilling and happy. I joined a design firm and earned my boss's appreciation. In my free time, I traveled with friends, taking Ethan and my dog, Peanut. While shopping, I unexpectedly saw Julian. He looked utterly dejected and lost, like a defeated dog. Unlike his vibrant self from years ago. I heard his company had encountered some problems recently. Julian was overjoyed when he saw me, running all the way over. "Grace, I finally found you." He tried to grab my hand, but Ethan, who was standing beside me, pushed him away. Julian hurriedly pulled out the necklace I had once desired and held it out to me. "Grace, I brought the necklace. Can you come back with me? I finally understand now. I can lose anything, just not you." I didn't take it, nor did I look Julian directly in the eye. "You failed to give me the love I wanted. Instead, you brought me only pain now. Someone loves me wholeheartedly, and I am truly happy." Hearing this, Ethan's arm tightened around my waist. I left Julian with one last sentence. "We have no relationship whatsoever anymore. Don't disturb my life again." With that, I left, ignoring Julian's breakdown and pleas behind me. The day Julian went bankrupt, it made front-page news. Julian's company was already struggling and plunged into despair due to scandals. These scandals were precisely what Scarlett had leaked to the media. Seeing her reputation beyond repair, Scarlett decided to drag Julian down with her. She consecutively exposed Julian for exploiting employees and using improper competitive practices, among other issues. The company was directly boycotted by the public and ultimately went bankrupt. Julian had borrowed a lot of money to keep the business afloat, but it was beyond saving. Now, he not only had nothing but was also heavily in debt, and due to his scandalous affair with Scarlett. His reputation plummeted to rock bottom that day. I scrolled through news about Scarlett on my phone. After her release from prison, she tried to resume her old career as an influencer, but the audience didn't buy it. Netizens successively unearthed her history of campus bullying, fake diplomas, marital infidelity, and destroying others' marriages. These countless wrongdoings nailed Scarlett to the pillar of shame. Scarlett was first banned from various platforms, then boycotted across the entire internet. Ultimately, she suffered from depression due to cyberbullying and took her own life. Her son, Leo, was ostracized at school and dropped out early. He then committed theft multiple times and ended up in a juvenile detention center. He consistently refused to acknowledge Scarlett as his mother. Scarlett's parents had also long since disowned her. Scarlett's body remains unclaimed to this day. I smiled. The current me no longer cared about their messy affairs. My time was precious, not to be wasted on them. At this moment, I was sunbathing in my small garden. Ethan called out from the kitchen, "Honey, lunch is ready." Then, I heard his exasperated voice, "Peanut, are you stealing food again?" I responded lazily. At this very moment, the sun was bright, full of hope, and my beloved and happiness were right beside me.